Hello, wonderful people of the great World Wide Web. Welcome to part 2 of my first big adventure, my motorcycle trip to Morocco and around this beautiful country. We are picking up right where we left in episode 1, after my last night in Chefchaouen, which I spent in a lovely apartment hosted by some truly wonderful people. If you missed the first episode, no worries, just check out the link in the upper right corner to catch up. And for those who did watch, if you remember that my last day in Chefchaouen wasn't exactly smooth sailing. I caught the cold and was feeling pretty rough. But hey, the adventure doesn't stop. Let's find out what's next. After a decent night's sleep, I woke up early, still feeling like crap. But from experience, I knew I had few good hours before the energy crash would hit. So I packed up my bike and set off towards Fez. Before leaving Chefchaouen, I stopped for one last coffee and ended up chatting with some locals. As always, they asked me where I'm from. Turns out, not many people know Croatia, but everybody knows Modric. The moment I said Croatia, the response was always the same, Modric! And well, I'm not even a football fan. With a good dose of caffeine, I set off towards Fez. Still feeling under the weather, I relied on Google Maps for navigation. Off-road riding would have to wait for another time. The ride was smooth, the weather was just right. But as Chefchaouen faded in my mirrors, a bit of sadness crept in. I had really grown fond of the place. The Rift Mountains are breathtaking, full of trails I didn't get to explore. Yet another reason to return to Morocco. I wasn't really feeling hungry since I was still sick, but I knew I needed to eat something to keep my energy up. Around noon, I stopped for lunch in the Zala Beni Amar, and probably pronouncing it wrong. Now, here is my rule when I'm on the road and looking for food. I always go for the place with the most locals eating there. So far, the strategy has never let me down. And in Morocco, it's especially easy to spot the locals versus the tourists. That tagine, absolute perfection, like chef's kiss. Even though I didn't have much of an appetite, I still ended up scraping the dish clean. Once I got to Fez, I found a campsite and snagged a great spot in the shade near a pond, perfect for my tent. By the time I finished setting up, I was completely wiped. Then the Danish rider I met on the ferry, who I'd hung out with in the camp in Chefchaouen, showed up too. But I was done. I ended up crashing hard, sleeping through the rest of the day, the whole night, and even most of the next day. The only times I got up were to grab some food or tea. You know how it is. Sometimes your body just says, nope, we're shutting down now. And you gotta listen. By the third day, I was finally feeling better, so we decided to check out the Fez Medina. What an experience! It's a bit of a maze with its winding alleys, but the shops were absolutely incredible, eye-catching in every way. There were stalls full of amazing sweets, which sadly I couldn't enjoy as much as I'd like to because of some health stuff. Shops overflowing with spices I'd never heard of, homemade cosmetics, leather goods, all kinds of handmade crafts. It was a feast for the senses. The next day, I packed up my tent and set off towards Midelt, a roughly 200-kilometer ride. I chose the eastern route, flatter than the western one, but I was eager to finally catch a glimpse of the desert. The ride felt like my own personal Disneyland, with every twist through the mountains and every long, open stretch filling me with excitement. I stopped countless times just to soak in the surroundings, which is probably why a 200-kilometer ride ended up taking me nearly 5 hours. Closer to 6. Feeling better and in no rush, I couldn't resist exploring a few dirt roads along the way. Just a short ride into the desert before turning back. This road was nothing short of spectacular to me, stretching endlessly into the horizon, vanishing into the heat haze as far as my eyes could see. Some might call monotonous or even dull, but I found a unique beauty in this vast, unforgiving landscape. There's something mesmerizing about riding through an environment so raw and untamed, where the earth seems to stretch forever under the open sky. And then, out of nowhere, I stumbled upon a souk, a traditional Moroccan market, bursting with color and life. It was like stepping into a completely different world, one where the energy was electric and the atmosphere was alive with the buzz of people. Sellers and buyers had come from all the surrounding villages and town, bringing with them everything from livestock like sheep and goats to small household necessities. It was a vibrant, chaotic and utterly captivating scene, a reminder of how even in the most remote places, life finds a way to thrive. This vast high plateau, with its endless straight roads stretching as far as the eye can see, sits in the elevation between 1,000 and 1,500 meters above sea level. This is the Missour Basin, or Missour Pool, cradled between the Middle and the High Atlas Ranges. The landscape here tells a long and fascinating geological story. Over millions of years, the river Moulouya, I hope I pronounced it right, stretching approximately 520 kilometers and standing as one of the Morocco's longest rivers, has played a vital role in shaping this dramatic landscape. Its waters have curved out the valleys and plains, while depositing layers of sediment that gave this region this rugged, distinctive character. Despite the harsh, semi-arid conditions, life here has found a way to thrive. Small, resilient communities dot the area, relying on the river's water to sustain their agriculture and daily lives, proving that even in the toughest environments, nature and humanity find a way to adapt and endure. There is a legend deeply tied to the Moulouya River, the tale of Lala Moulouya, a princess renowned for wisdom, kindness and deep connection to the land. When a devastating drought struck the region, leaving her people in despair, she prayed to the gods for mercy. Overcome with sorrow, she wept for their suffering, and as her tears started to purge earth, the gods took pity on her. Moved by her devotion, they transformed her tears into a mighty river, bringing life back to the barren land. Named in her honor, the Moulouya River remains a symbol of resilience and renewal. Even today, locals speak of Lala Moulouya with reverence, believing that her spirit lingers in the flowing waters. Some say that on quiet nights, when the wind drifts over the river, you can still hear her voice in the breeze, a whisper from the past, carrying the echoes of a sacrifice and love for her people. Taking my time and savoring every kilometer, I eventually made it to Midelt. But the day wasn't over yet. I had my sights set on a place about 30 kilometers from town, a spot I'd learned about during a food and tea break on my way to Midelt. A local had approached me and asked if he could join me at my table. Of course, my friend, I said. The table is big enough for anyone with a good heart and in a good mood. When I mentioned I was heading to Midelt, he immediately brought up Cirque de Jafar, a trek I already knew about and planned to ride the next day. And then he told me about the abandoned mines and village of Ahouli. That immediately caught my attention. I've always been drawn to abandoned places, whether it's old military bases, ghost towns or forgotten structures. So visiting Ahouli wasn't just an option, it was a must. The roads leading to Ahouli were something else, rugged, raw and full of character. Starting from the flatlands, the route slowly wound its way into the mountains, growing narrower and more worn as I went. Since the mines shut down, the path doesn't see much traffic anymore, just the occasional locals and a few curious travelers like me. It felt like riding through a forgotten corner of the world, where every twist and turn had a story to tell. Ahouli is an abandoned mining town, both eerie and captivating, a silent witness to a once thriving past. Established in 1927 by the French, who controlled much of Morocco at the time, the town was built around lead, zinc, silver and copper extraction, but mostly it was lead. Its mines fueled the local economy, attracting workers from across the region and giving a rise to a bustling community. At its peak, Ahouli was alive with miners, their families and the constant hum of industrial activity. However, by the 1960s, as mineral deposits depleted and global market prices dropped, the town's prosperity faded. One by one, people left and Ahouli was slowly abandoned, leaving behind only ruins and echoes of its former life. Today, Ahouli stands as a ghost town, frozen in time. Yet not entirely abandoned, a few locals still reside here, holding to the remains of their heritage. Those resilient individuals continue to search the abandoned mines for minerals like quartz and other semi-precious stones, which they carefully polish and craft into jewelry to sell to the occasional travelers who venture into this remote part of Morocco. Their work reflects the enduring spirits of Ahouli's people, who have adapted to the town's decline by finding new ways to sustain themselves. However, life here is far from easy. Those miners face immense challenges, physical exhaustion, dangerous working conditions, and a lack of safety measures. Yet, with few other options for income, they continue to brave those harsh conditions, driven by the necessity and the determination to provide for their families. Their story is one of resilience and resourcefulness, a reminder of the human capacity to adapt even in the face of adversity. Walking through Ahouli feels like stepping into a post-apocalyptic world, where the echoes of the past are almost tangible. The crumbling buildings, rusted machinery, and empty streets stand in stark contrast to the vibrant mountains that surround them. The mines themselves, now silent and eerie, are a reminder of the hard labor and risk endured by the miners who once worked there. Yet, amidst the decay, there's life, small but persistent, like the wildflowers that grow between the cracks of the abandoned structures. Ahouli is more than just an abandoned site. It's a touching symbol of resilience, change, and the passage of time. For those who visit, it offers unique glimpse into Morocco's industrial past, the lives of those who depended on the mines, and the enduring spirit of the people who still call this place home. It's a place where history, nature, and human determination intersect, creating a story that is as compelling as it is bittersweet. Oh, by the way, the small river flowing to the abandoned town is actually the Moulouya River, the same one I mentioned earlier in the video, and the one you saw me crossing while riding through Zaida. After exploring Ahouli, I headed back to Midelt, found a campsite, pitched my tent, and then went into the city to grab something to eat. I stuck to my usual tactic for finding good food and stumbled upon a small snack bar packed with locals. That's where I had my first taste of harira, the traditional Moroccan soup, and I was instantly hooked. The silky texture and amazing flavors won me right away. I'll dive deeper into harira in later episodes, but for now, since we are at the end of the second episode, it's time to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more adventures. Until next time, ride safe and keep exploring.